right now, owner and general manager of the Dallas Cowboys. It is Jerry Jones. Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning, Corey, Kevin, Mike. Man, good to be on with you. And actually, I'm sitting here in New York this morning talking to you.
Is there any chance that you'll be flying out of New York soon and can make it to the Rangers game this afternoon? Because we need some help to turn this thing around, Jerry.
Well, I will say this. I'm so proud that they're playing at the level they're playing. Let's give that recognition. And, it's close. It should be close is the only way I know to describe it. I'm so proud of them. What a thrill they're giving it for all. I'm not going to be able to get there because of my late meetings, but I'll be with them. I'll be watching them.
Is there a lot of business, NFL business, to get done up there in New York?
Exactly. We had our league meetings here the first of the week, and then I had a couple of television meetings.
Now, one of the things that we did hear about was the contract extension of Roger Goodell through March 2027. We love to hear your input on big league issues. What are your thoughts about the commissioner and sticking around a few more years?
Well, I think that's a really outstanding thing for the league, for him. He's got a wealth of intellectual knowledge about how it works, about the issues, whether it be television, labor, or certainly internal issues within the NFL. So I think it's great that he's going to be our commissioner for more years to come.
When you talked about the TV aspect, I was really curious, and I know you can't tell me all the details, but how big of a presence is streaming becoming in terms of future bidding for these TV packages?
Yeah. Streaming has impacted it dramatically and has influenced not only your traditional television, but also your certainly your cable, your subscription, the entire process of packaging, and all of that has to do with the NFL because we have become an integral part, more than I could have ever imagined 20, 30 years ago, but we've become an integral part of attracting those eyeballs to any medium. And so streaming, there's no question, there's a shift in structure and how people will absorb, if you will, content, and in our case, our games. We're got a great base. I'm talking the NFL. We do add huge value to whatever the business plan is of any type of any network or any company. So it's all a good place for us. We've got a lot of years before our contracts generally come up, but you start and work on these things now.
Jerry, does seeing the Philadelphia Eagles and the 49ers lose over the weekend, does that make you feel like the NFC is more vulnerable or more open to the taking?
Not really, because I really do understand how vulnerable any team is. This talent is evenly spread, and that has to do with not only the players but the coaching as well. And sure, clubs get times when they have maybe a little better combination of the two, but still, it's pretty even. It's designed to be even. For instance, when a club, as you know, releases a player today for whatever the reason, the club that lost the most last year would have the first dibs on that player, and so that's to keep it competitive. And boy, is it competitive! No, it doesn't surprise me at all that teams can come up and basically teams that weren't that recognized beat them. And so, hello NFL, and that's, I think, a very positive part of our game.
You know, Coach McCarthy said this week that you ask all the right questions in your meetings with the coaches, and I was just kind of curious, when you go in there, like, what kind of question, what are you looking for? What are you wanting to know more about regarding the team each week?
Well, of course, I'm very aware of what our plans were when we started the game against any opponent, so that when we do meet back after we have played that opponent, I'm aware of where we came up or how things were different than we had planned on. And basically, my favorite question of all, if you were going to play these guys again this Sunday, what would you do differently? And, of course, let me be very candid with you. I'm not in there to second guess. I'm really there to understand and basically look and see if we have the right personnel for what we're trying to do. Are we maximizing our personnel? I look at those meetings probably more from personnel standpoint than I do from the scheme standpoint, although I'm very interested in the scheme, because if we're trying to scheme in a certain way that doesn't match our personnel, that's a little bit of a problem. And so those are the kinds of things that we want to stay on the same page and maybe look around the corner. In other words, if we've changed the way we play a safety, if we've not getting that kind of play out of a secondary guy or a linebacker, and we're trying to do something else, we have that kind of discussion, and I have it with all the coordinators as well as the coach.
Obviously, the Cowboys are in the midst of their bye week. I'm kind of curious because sometimes these get thrown out during the bye week. What kind of grade do you think you would give this Cowboys team at the bye?
I'd give it a good grade, a really good grade. Now, what is good? I'd give it. We grade the coaches grade winning or losing, a winning grade or losing grade. You don't have a percentage type grade. We do in scouting, we put a numerical number on it. But of course, your coaches don't always grade the same way as the scouts and vice versa. And therein lies the eyes of the beholder. But you've got to give credit to the coach. He probably understands more of what he's trying to get done with the player against that opponent that week than our scouts do. But you would, I'm sure, not be surprised to know that the same people looking at the same player can grade them differently.
The offensive line is struggled a little bit lately. Is that just the product of being together more? They need to be together more? Is there still something missing, you think, from your perspective when it comes to personnel?
No, I think you, first of all, start off when you say line. That's a team within a team.
Yep.
And it is. Arguably, the offensive line coach and the group that do that are maybe right there with the most important coaches, position coaches you have. And it is a number of people, and that's why position flex, being able to move from one spot to the other, is a cherished attribute of a player. But so you really sometimes can misjudge a player's grade on play because of what his teammate, fellow line, may have missed on the play. As you know, we're having them make more of the calls. You may not know this, but the offensive line is more involved in the pre-snap communication than they have been in the past. And that's big. That's big. Who you going to get? The old adage of get man just rings so true here. What does that mean? That means just how about somehow bite him or whatever, and I'm teasing. Uh-huh. Get your man. Just get your man. And we deliberately leave some people a little less blocked than others sometimes. But that ought to be the only ones if you've done that play right. If each one has a man, not a gap, then get man is an important thing to say. Get your guy and let the athlete, whether it be a running back or quarterback, handle the unblocked guy or the lesser blocked guy.
We have the same thing in radio. Sometimes we'll look at each other and be like, what happened to you on that one?
You really,
yeah, that was your guy.
Do you have the bullets flying like they do in that interior with those big defensive linemen punching you in the nose?
It's a little different.
Yeah, no, it's just usual psychological warfare, not physical by any means. Yeah.
Y'all let those words exact a lot of pain for you, okay?
Absolutely.
It does. Jerry.
Hey, listen, I don't mean to sound that way, okay, because I can't tell you we are so similar because we've all chosen this thing called sports.
Mm-hmm.
And the way we describe it, give our opinions or state it to our fans is the show. And it makes it bigger than life, I'll say it. So we're a big part of this thing. When you're in the whole broadcasting, the whole reporting to fans area. And I can tell you firsthand, because I've got to put the show on. We're a big part of that thing. It's really bigger than life.
When you were kind of describing the offensive line taking on more of these calls, was that in Dak's hands last year, maybe beforehand? It was him, and now he can kind of focus a little more on what's in front of him. Yeah,
and I know this is both sides of your mouth. That's by degrees.
Okay.
So not quite Dak 1 year, offensive line the next. This thing has shades to it. Mm-hmm. But you do have the offensive line more responsible for pre-snap than they've been in the past during Dak's career.
I realize penalties are just a natural part of football, especially once the ball is snapped. But what's your frustration level with the defense lining up off sides, 12 men on the field, like those pre-snap penalties that do feel preventable?
Well, I really do believe that a sloppy game, one that's fraught with a lot of penalties, is very much like weather. And I think it helps the lesser team. That has no specificness to it, but I think it does because it really a lot of plays could be called, a lot of penalties could be called on every play. And we cringe when we see a penalty that didn't affect the play. And so we say, do we really want that? Since you really could look out there and just about get an interpretation on the call. So having said that, penalties are a big part of this thing. Generally, in a given game, if the officiating is what's good for the goose, good for the gander, is the same for both sides, offense, defense, then you really haven't had a game outcome change. And that one the other day, we all got it equal.
Jerry,
against the Chargers.
Yeah. Everybody got a few of those penalties the other day.
Yeah.
And they were at the bad times. I was talking to Dean Spanos, the owner here in New York, Tuesday or Wednesday, and he basically said, "Boy, they hit us and hit you at the worst time. Just calling back significantly impacting plays, calling back." And you rather not be that way. Let me put it like this, and I'm not trying to be trite.
Jerry, what do you generally like the players, like their approach to the bye week? What do you like? Do you like them to treat it like a vacation to rest their bodies? What's your feeling whenever it comes to players during their bye week?
I think it's a great opportunity to for them individually to reflect, and it lets you restart. I'm a big believer on an individual basis of cleaning your slate and trying to get fresh. That could be by the month, that could be by the year. And certainly kind of a refreshing time is when you look back and say, well, would I try again, or would I take this 4-2 and go forward and build with what we've done to get to 4-2? I'll take this 4-2 for us. I will, because I think we're here. We've arrived in reasonably good shape on availability. That's injury. Looking ahead, I like how we have evolved and players we're counting on, especially young ones. I think these 6 games have really put us in good stead. I wouldn't want to start over again this year. I like where we are at 4-2.
Right on. And before we let you go, the Chiefs said Patrick Mahomes is their backup punter. And I was just kind of curious, would you put your money on Dak being a backup punter, or is there somebody else you'd say, no, that's my backup punter for the future?
As long as we're quick kicking, I'll take you.
All right, Jerry.
Thanks, guys.